Welcome, our second of the series, Practical AI for IT. If you missed the first one, it's not too late to go and catch that on demand. Go on to logmein.com. Today's session is knowledge management, and I'm so excited to kick things off with our two amazing speakers. Feel free to go ahead and join me on stage. We have Chris Savio and Chad Falantic. I will go ahead and let you guys introduce yourselves. Chris, you can start us off.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Danny. Appreciate it. And thank you for everyone for joining us in morning, afternoon, evening, depending on wherever you're located. As Danny said, my name is Chris Savio, Senior Director of Product Marketing here at GoTo for our LogMeIn portfolio of products. So our LogMeIn Resolve solution, Rescue, you might be familiar with as well. And really excited to present to you some really interesting insights and trends with regards to AI knowledge management, and then really dive into the solution as we hear that's what everyone wants to see. And to help us dive into the solution, we have Chad with us. Chad, would you like to do a quick intro? I think the man that needs no intro if you've been on any of our webinars before, but for those that haven't.
Well, yeah, I mean, what an incredible start already there. But yeah, I'm Chad. I've been a solutions consultant here with GoTo for a couple of years now, and my background is all IT, help desk, kind of day-to-day actual functions that tools like this, like what we're going to go over today, were used in. So I'll be taking you guys through the product, kind of showing you everything new that we've got. After Chris gives you guys kind of the big picture, we'll get into the nitty-gritty details, and really excited to show you guys that.
Awesome. On that note, I will leave it to the two best in the business, and I enjoy your session.
Awesome. Thanks again. And as Danny said, if there's questions, you have anything along the way, you got your emoji reactions for things that you love as you're going through the product, or you agree with it. We've got some polls that'll come up, and obviously the questions. Don't hold those to the end. Start dropping them in. If I see something pop up that's really relevant to I think what's going on that I talked about, or maybe that's going on in the demo, we'll jump in, break in midstream, and kind of address those as well. I think it kind of helps to create a little bit more of an engaging session. So again, feel free to chime in and engage as much as possible. So what are we going to be talking about today? So we're going to start off, obviously, practical AI is the theme of it. So we're going to talk about some AI trends, some data, some stats that we have that talk about kind of high level pictures where there's focus. We're not going to inundate too much again with stats, but we just like to level set so everyone's kind of on that same, singing from the same hymnal, as they say, and kind of has the same foundational information. Then we'll jump into a little bit of information on knowledge management in general, right? Some trends there, and some ways that, problems and opportunities that can be solved in general and specifically with Resolve. And then Chad's going to walk through not just our knowledge base, we have it listed here because that's obviously the topic, but kind of the whole encompassing experience that helps to kind of, build up, maintain, curate kind of knowledge within Resolve and how everything works together. And then again, we'll have time for specific QA at the end, but again, don't just hold it for the end. Start dropping those in throughout if something comes up that you see. No dumb questions, maybe dumb answers. So I'll apologize in advance. So with that, I'll take my quick 20 seconds, the only time I'll put kind of my marketing hat on just to give a little 101 for those that aren't familiar. With LogMeIn Resolve. LogMeIn Resolve is really a unified endpoint management platform, and I think that almost does it a disservice by calling it that because it's much broader than your traditional endpoint management. So it's got your, remote monitoring and management capabilities. It's got your mobile device management capabilities, but it also encompasses a lot of those hands-on support. So your remote access, remote support, even a live camera share to support hardware or other disconnected devices. It includes record keeping capabilities, so some incident and problem management coverage, knowledge, which we're going to talk about, and also hardware and software asset management. So it really spans the gamut of nearly anything that you're going to need to manage and support your devices and end users. Integrations with a lot of leading systems. We just rolled out a partnership with Acronis, where we've introduced a data protection suite, which covers backup and continuity disaster recovery, also endpoint protection, so EDR and XDR. So really anything you need, we're hoping to be kind of your one-stop shop to make it easy to do your work, as well as maybe save you a few dollars and resources along the way. Okay, so that's out of the way, Chad. I've done my pitch. I'm going to take it off, and let's get to some more interesting stuff here. So AI in general, right? Why is it mattering? Why is it important? Well, I think it's really starting to transform how people work and how resources are allocated, and not just at large, but also really specific to IT. right? What we saw, we rolled out a survey to mid-market IT professionals, managed service providers, late last year. And really, there is that belief. I think it's that cautious optimism, but there is that belief that there's going to be these improvements in efficiency, right? There's going to be reductions in cost because you're getting more out of your current resources, right? If you're, for example, a managed service provider, you can have 250 endpoints you can manage per, let's say, one technician. Well, maybe you can push it up to 300, 350 endpoints, right? If you're an IT department and you have a staff of 4 individuals that's supporting, your organization of 300 or 400 employees, and you want to start branching out and maybe starting to be more proactive in your work, right? Not just chasing fire drills, get more out of your team. Well, AI can be an enabler for that, right? And there's a lot of ways that it's starting to progress forward. And I understand as well that there's some caution to it. I think some people have questions maybe on the security of it, maybe on how it's going to work, some hallucinations and things like that. And so hopefully we can give you some insights as we're going through today, how we approach that. But there is a lot of value being seen, right? So where is it making a difference? So again, not necessarily new, been around for a while, and a lot of people are experiencing it already. And feedback that we received in our survey is that where it's making the difference already, threat detection, really not surprising, right? I mean, it has bulk of information starting to show up. Knowledge management, which is awesome. We're going to talk about that today, right? I didn't load the deck on these. This was what when we asked this kind of last year. User self-service support. This kind of flows nicely, and we'll talk about how we can actually solve that as well with Resolve to offload some of that. Predictive maintenance. So this is a lot. We're actually going to talk a little bit about this maybe in our next session, but there's a lot of functionality coming to Resolve that we're hoping to solve that with AI as well, and IT asset management. These are kind of the top areas. There are a few below the fold as well. But again, what we're looking at is seeing these results, hearing directly from our customers, and trying to deliver AI that's going to solve that, right? But at the same time, let's talk about some of the concerns. And I definitely understand that. Like I said, cautious optimism. We think there's a way to kind of solve these things. But we also heard loud and clear, right, that there are some concerns when you are all adopting AI, right? And I think we aim to address these proactively with our customers, both in how we're building it, how we're documenting things, and talking about it, right? So some of the concerns around having security issues, lack of buy-in or trust, aren't tailored to industry-specific needs, right? Aren't existing to tools. And just reading off this top list from security issues, I can tell you any of our AI functionality lives in its own LLM. It's not used, your data isn't used to kind of inform a larger LLM or feedback to any partners that we're working with, right? So you kind of control your outputs are your own, and so forth. So we're really helping to kind of secure it that way. Tailored or industry specific, again, everything we build and resolve is specific to these kind of IT needs. So we're building up our LLMs, training our information specific to that kind of organization. And they integrate with tools. Well, good thing is already built in. So we're trying to check off some of these top one. I think the employee buy-in or trust is obviously something that has to be built over time. And I think some of the functionality we're going to show you today will help that for your technicians or agents, or your end users if you're facing that. Chad, from your perspective, kind of looking at this, have you heard anything when you've been demoing and hearing front lines, any other concerns or questions with AI in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really that buy-in thing, and I love also, how you're highlighting trust, right? Like things like this, it's not a miracle that's just gonna solve every problem you've had in your environment, your entire time in IT, right? But what it can do is actually make your work more consistent and reliable, by highlighting kind of just really easy gimme processes that, in the past would have been like a ton of effort, right? So let's talk about that more. But I think, the key thing is like trust has to be earned. And I think we're confident we can do that now. And, I hear the
Yeah.
skepticism, as well, though, from folks. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that that's true. And we have to earn your trust. The solution has to earn your trust. And I think we have a very deliberate beta process and a lot of the features and functionality
Mhm,
that we have
mhm.
to go through that rigorous testing and so forth. And we'll go back to the drawing board if we need it, right? So we encourage anyone, if you get those pop-ups that say, hey, do you want to be a beta tester? Do you want to provide feedback if you're a Resolve customer? Please join in. We'd love to hear from you. So we're speaking about all the AI. So knowledge management isn't the only way that we're injecting AI and have injected AI into Resolve, and kind of threaded, right? So our virtual technician, which was the session that my colleague Kim and Chad had hosted 2 weeks ago. If you haven't seen that, I encourage you to go back and watch that session. It was great, fantastic demo that Chad provided to walk through a few different scenarios. High level, really, what the virtual technician is, it's your sidekick, your AI assistant that's going to live within remote support sessions, and go in there and really automate as if you were sitting in front, moving around on that screen and doing tasks so you can walk away and do something else, focus to work, or maybe go, have some dinner or something else, right? Not have to work after hours, and this thing can kind of take over. And that's doing it kind of a low disservice, but it's a no-code approach to really automation that's simplifying how things get done in a much more agile approach. We're going to dive into the knowledge base today, so I'm not going to spend any time on that. And the next thing we're going to cover in 2 weeks is around our data insights. So we recently rolled out into open beta something we called kind of customizable reporting, dynamic insights. You might see it mentioned there, but really we'll be excited to show that to you. But what that is the ability of any type of insights or reports you'd want. And we know reporting, getting all out of the box reports is hard, and we're trying to build that up. But this also gives you the ability to create any type of report you want in natural language. Just ask the platform what you want to see. You want to see, operating systems that are running on X, Y, and Z. It'll spit that out. What type of support sessions are being run against what type of devices. It'll spit that out. Stuff on your tickets, whatever lives in your ecosystem, you can see that. So feel free to play around with that if you're a Resolve customer today in open beta, and join us in 2 weeks as we kind of dive into that as well. A few of the other areas we have our remote support capabilities. We do have AI laced in there. We're actually going to preview a little piece of that as well with our session notes. We kind of have our Go-Pilot assistant that lives within there and throughout the product. And then our help desk as well. AI really supports from ticket labeling to linking up with knowledge articles and a few other ways, helping with kind of responses, summarizing some of our comments and so forth. So again, really practical, important things that we're finding kind of a need that our customers have, and seeing, can we solve it maybe differently than traditionally done with AI, and not really kind of to blow up your workflows or change them. So anything else you'd add to this, Chad, from how we're kind of approaching AI or other areas?
I think the biggest thing is just, we're going to connect today, like these ideas to the actual reality of how everything works, in an actual help desk environment, right? You guys will see that too when it comes to the data insights and everything. I think so many times, we gather data, but we don't really have a way to report on it actively. I'm looking forward to showing that in session 3. And I think that same thing is true also for what we're going to go over here today, right? You guys are already gathering so much data just by doing the work, right? How do we turn that into something actionable that's just a natural fit, for your environment and your existing workflow?
Definitely. And someone did drop in a question, and I'll put Danny or is behind the scenes on the spot with this one. If we can drop in the chat, he wants to know how to get the recording of that previous webinar. So if there's a link that's available that we can drop in the chat, so people are able to do that, or maybe we send that in the follow-up email, just to let everyone know. All right. So the AI side of the house, talked a lot about that. Now let's pivot to the topic of knowledge, right? Why is this a problem that needs a solution, right? So what is the state of knowledge management? Well, unfortunately, it's a constant battle, right? And it really hasn't changed. It's evolved. I think the problems have evolved, but it still is potentially, the consistent issues that have always been faced, tweaked a little bit, right? The first thing that's going on with knowledge management and the complexity of it is that the problems are just getting more complex with IT. Think about all the different types of operating systems and devices you have to support. Think about the locations that you're trying to support people from or to, right? It's getting more and more, the questions are getting much more complex. The problems are getting much more complex as they show up on your doorstep, right? You have users now that want to troubleshoot and do things that maybe some of your L1 reps, your basic troubleshooting steps are no longer being solved because people are doing it on their own. So everything that's showing up on your plate is much more complicated, right? You're using software and tools that are getting more complicated and interconnected, right? So there's a lot more complexity than it was years ago, which again is requiring some better documentation and information that's just constantly updated to help your team, right? At that same time, it's just the retrieval and finding information, right? 40% of agent time are spent just searching for information rather than solving problems. That can be everything from looking through past tickets or situations with the device to finding solutions and tracking them down, right? So maybe knowledge isn't going to solve everything in there, but if you can carve off small pieces to get this knowledge more quickly and easily and accurately, you can chunk off some of those. And also an interesting stat that they found when I was looking through this last week to pull some interesting things together here was 30 to 50% of these mid-market organizations, so companies that are kind of the SMB space, just don't have any formalized knowledge management system. And that's wild, right? So there might be some documentation. I'm sure some of you do have this, right? but maybe it's not standardized, not formalized in a process. It's not centralized or accessible for anyone. There's no kind of leadership or ownership of it. So it becomes a little bit of the Wild West. And so you either have a lot of stuff that's outdated or wrong, stuff that isn't up to date, and just big holes in it, right? And then you think about the demand side of it, right? Or I'm sorry, the I think this label is off here. Really, the results that you're seeing from some of these knowledge systems is productivity improvements across the board. 25 to 35% of companies that have initiated this. This was some research that was done by IDC that showed productivity improvements and can cut support tickets by 35%. Right. So this is that self-service piece of it, and there's an expectation of that. And I think there's just more technologically savvy by a lot of your users. So building up knowledge that's both useful to your agents as well as accessible to customers can have an impact, and we'll show you how we can do that and resolve. So before we dive into kind of maybe how to solve some of these problems, I'd love to understand from everyone here kind of our first poll that we're going to push out. It's like, what is your biggest knowledge management pain point, right? So we got a few answers here, Chad. We got hard to find accurate information quickly. So this is kind of the search side of it. We have lives in too many places. It isn't documented consistently, and there's no clear ownership process, right? These are top ones that jump to mind for me when I was building this out. Maybe there's some other that aren't listed in here. If you have something else, feel free to drop that in the chat area, and we'll kind of chime those in. But what do you think of some of these answers, Chad?
I have my suspicions. I'll let people vote a little bit more, but
Yeah.
I'll honestly say back in my day, behind the help desk, category three here was that was the real bear. I think, see, I biased people, I think. Now they're all clicking on it. Whoops. But we'll talk about that. I think these other points are extremely, extremely valid too. We'll go over all of them.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I think we got a majority of people have voted in here, so we can close that on up, Danny, and push it back out. And let's see what we have here, if it's pushed out. So we've got, yeah, knowledge isn't documented consistently. Again, not surprising. No standard process for that, right? Lives in a lot of places, right? I think that hurts the accessibility standpoint, which is right and wrong. You have conflicting information and hard to find it quickly, right? So no clear ownership process, not a big problem. So that's good. Like to see that one up there, but now it's funneling into some of the other ones, and maybe that's systemic from some of the other pieces. So, all right, we'll close that out, and kind of continue to move along. And we're going to get into the demo in just a second. I do promise that. But, you know, so for me, with all these problems, I kind of see AI and knowledge management as a perfect fit one another. Few reasons for that. One, I think it's a very low risk place to invest in, right? Because there is human oversight for it that can be involved, right? It's not really just kind of going out in the Wild West, but it's really a good place where it's assisting you, right? So it's a good fit, right? So how does that kind of work within Resolve? How are we actually helping to solve some of these problems? Well, really just simplify documentation, right, with this AI enhanced knowledge. And I say it's not just all AI, it's enhanced, right? So there's still human elements, still kind of traditional approaches. I see a comment from Ron here about, does it support kind of your KCS method for IT management? And I his chat kind of goes through that a little bit. Yeah, there is kind of turning actions into results, right? Because it is integrated throughout the platform, right? So it helps you with simplified creation and classification. There's a smarter, easier way to search using AI-powered search to identify things. We have kind of integrations in Help Desk that will show, and you can learn from solutions, right? You're solving things in remote sessions, hands-on all the time, and you can actually learn and turn those things into knowledge, and we'll show you how that works. And then, again, that self-service need, right? Turning it around and making it end-user focused. And these are kind of the high level features. Is there another key feature that maybe I'm not talking about, Chad, that you're gonna show just to see people a little more?
I honestly think this is a pretty good overview. There's a lot contained in these, and I got 20 minutes to show them. So there's more than just this, is what I would say for
Yeah,
those that are
fair.
enthusiastic.
All right.
Yeah.
So the last thing I'll leave you, and then we'll turn it over to a demo, right? Is again, this is what I want you to keep in your back of your head. I like this idea of kind of, tell, show, tell, right? So how really directly, right? So that was high level, Chad said on the last slide. Here's your problems, and here's how we're solving them, right? So knowledge is hard to capture, 100%. Understand that. People were saying, right, hard to capture consistent, right? We're going to show you ways that we're going to turn real work into usable knowledge, right? Through remote sessions, tickets, and so forth, right? So it kind of works within your process, right? It relies on this kind of behavioral change, right? It's hard. Anything you're initiating new processes and things, people have to change, and change is difficult. I understand that, right? That's why we're trying to find ways as much as possible to actually just let this live within current workflows, right? Not be something outside we have to do something different. continue what you're doing, and maybe with one extra step, hey, there you go. You've started to create your knowledge, right? And improve your documentation hygiene. Um, Tool overload and fragmentation. Yes, right. Some people are saying that it lives in a lot of places. You have multiple IT management and support tools, right? That's why having this integrated, not just into your ticketing system, which, a lot of traditional ITSM platforms have the knowledge integrated into there, but because Resolve is able to coverage a lot of the low level ITSM stuff, but also the resolution side of your support, right? It's integrated in there. It already lives within it. It's not an extra tool, right? So it's in your day-to-day support already. Um, Knowledge that decays fast, yeah, 100%, right? And that's why with serving up knowledge, you'll see in a lot of different places within the solution, you're able to quickly see, hey, is there already knowledge that's being served up that's just inaccurate, that's out of date, right? And we're also looking for additional ways to help make it easier to understand knowledge which may have maybe outdated or needs review process that's coming in the future. Hard to search and extract knowledge, yes. Searching a lot of the just basic search, you get a laundry list. You see a lot of knowledge base, you get like 60 or 70 different articles. Using AI power, generative AI to actually search these things for textual insights in them serves it up a lot more easy, whether it be for technicians, your agents, or your end users. And then that lack of ownership or accountability, because the roles are embedded in these workflows, what everyone's doing on a day-to-day basis, right? It's tied to specific actions. It almost makes that a moot point, right? Because then it becomes kind of communal ownership and just kind of works within it. So really excited for this. That's my spiel beforehand. I am going to hand it over to Chad now to bring all this to life. Again, keep your questions coming in here. Chad's throwing anything that maybe you want to see more on, you have questions on, and I'll just jump
Exactly.
in and alert Chad for it. So Chad, take it away, sir.
Absolutely. Go ahead and screen share pulled up here. All right, how's that look, Chris?
Fantastic.
Excellent, excellent. So, yeah, all right. We've learned a lot about kind of, how AI functions, in a big picture sense, but now I get to actually show you guys this in the product for real. So I think some of you guys were at session one. Some of you, this might be your first session. I saw folks discussing that earlier. I'm going to give you a kind of a broad overview of the scope of the tool. And also, I'm going to highlight all of the AI stuff that's currently in the product, as well as kind of this very specific knowledge-based use case we're going to spend the majority of the time on here today. So like Chris said, I always say when I give a demo, it's got to be your demo for it to be useful. Now, there is 110 people right now in this audience, so it can't be everybody in particular's demo, but I want it to be as customized as possible. So speak up when you feel like it. All right, so this is Resolve. At its core, like he said, it's an endpoint management solution. It does a lot more than that. But, I've got here, you're not going to believe it, it's a list of endpoints. You can see right away, we're provided a ton of insight and kind of knowledge as to what these devices are up to, what their configuration is. I can dive into any of them. Again, not going to get too in the weeds on this, but I think you can kind of see some of this attitude that we're going to talk about later that we bring to the table with, making information easily accessible and replicable, in your environment, like really, really easily here, right? So I can see the overview of the hardware and software of the machine. On the right, I've got all sorts of actions, that I can take. I can take a remote control session. For those of you that saw the virtual technician demo, I can have an AI agent execute some actions for me on the machine with virtual technician. I can execute scripts with remote execution, get terminal access, file manager access, all sorts of kind of useful background, functions here by default, right? We've got some alerting, some automation that can tell us more about what's going on a machine by machine basis, but let's talk about an actual workflow, right? This is to give you some scope, but let's give you an actual functional example, right? So let's say that we get an inbound ticket, right? In fact, I have two inbound tickets to talk to you guys about today, right? So not only is Resolve a device management platform, but it's also a full help desk and knowledge-based platform, like we mentioned earlier. It's kind of how we present our tickets. They can come in a bunch of different ways. Someone can email us. We can have it come in over a web portal that we'll go over later too when we talk about kind of that customer self-service that Chris mentioned. They appear here in our queue. We dive into them like anything else. You're gonna notice with everything with this tool, it's built to be modern and fast, right? You're not gonna have to wait 5 minutes for your search to index and then actually, pull up your relevant ticket info. And okay, so I've got a couple of different things here. I've got somebody asking for help resetting their browser, right? They give me some kind of vague instructions here. They're saying that their coworker Gerald said they should reset this. They don't know how to do that. They want our help. And they've filled out a little bit of basic information, right? So right away, on the right, we're going to have any related articles, but it looks like we don't have any quite yet for this particular use case, right? I'm going to talk about how easy it is once we resolve this issue to make that happen, right? But those are going to be indexed, put up there by default. I'll show you a functional example later if we have time. On the right, we also have any linked devices. So we actually will also use AI indexing if you want to link a suggested device with a particular ticket if you need. Got another ticket too. Somebody here wants help configuring our Outlook app. So we can see we've got a suggestion as well for that device. Like I mentioned, that's kind of the first AI-enabled feature that you guys are going to see here. I can click through, get onto the machine, and then go and support it, right? And show you a little bit of that flow here. All right, so I click it, takes me through. I start a remote support session and I begin my work, right? Now, in this particular use case, I want to show you guys kind of the fast forwarded version of this. I don't want to make you actually watch me resolve all of this. But so let's say that I have my, my session and I go ahead and I have it recorded, right? So by default here, this is the one, that we did to help with this person's Outlook, right? This was ticket number 2 that just came in. So the technician logged on, they went through, configured the Outlook with the end user, and now we have a recording from it, right? So after maybe 5 or 10 minutes, when a session completes, these recordings can actually be processed, and this is really where we start to get in kind of that automation and AI feature set as Chris was describing it. These can be processed into automated summaries, both in long and short form, with timestamps of what happened on a given session, right? So you can see that's exactly what we have here. For my ticket earlier that I was showing you guys about, this Outlook. Well, now I know, even if I'm just going back, if I'm not the person who did this, right, I can see that they went to start menu, they went into internet options, they opened Outlook, and then they performed some different steps to repair it. I can scroll down even further and I can get those time-stamped pieces of information about exactly what happened, right, on the call. So the big focus with this is really around the fact that this is a totally automated flow. You flip this switch on once, it begins to index all of your calls automatically from then on, and then turns them into this kind of step-by-step information, right? But all right, let's talk about knowledge base, right? If I click this button here, this is kind of the wow moment. I can have it automatically take the information from before and turn it into a written, and not just written, but specifically formatted for IT article that uses a consistent, reliable format, for your knowledge base purposes, right? So the biggest thing about all of this, right? I thought it was really interesting when we had that poll earlier, right? It's one thing to have a process in place. It's one thing to have somewhere to put all of this data, right? We can consolidate all of that for you directly into this one tool. But beyond that, it's really about consistency. If you're going to have, the value of the work that you've already done stick around after you complete it the first time, it needs to be documented, right? And I want to kind of, talk about like a reality check of this. Like I've been on all sides of, the help desk environment. And when it comes down to it, like there's a constant battle between giving technicians enough time to document everything as good as we would hope, and then also putting the appropriate amount of focus on actually completing your work, right? I mean, this tool has the ability to entirely eliminate that manual documentation stage, and also turn that documentation, like I said, into something that's consistently formatted, right? Okay, so we've got our article here. It's telling me the things that we needed to do. So we went to internet options. We changed a couple of things in internet options, and then after that, we went and engaged with actually filling out the Outlook information. So If this was a consistent problem that I had seen, the AI is smart enough to, first of all, recognize that there were really kind of two actions that were taken here, right? It formats all these into, a short summary of it. It breaks down the exact steps that have happened, right? And then the other key thing here is that this is an editable document, right? These remain editable. It's easy to kind of review and see what should or should not be in here. And you have like a deliberate step where this information is approved by a human, right? So we're doing the hard work, we're doing the drafting, and then you guys can perform, any sort of additional reality check that you feel is necessary. Now, I'm going to be honest, I have a high degree of confidence in this tool's ability to turn your sessions into accurate notes and then into accurate knowledge base articles. But we are always going to give you the option, right, to intervene and to be more deliberate in cases where special attention is required, right? So that's a huge focus here for us. Some more things about this editor here. I've got the ability to take any of these steps in or out very easily. I can engage with the format as the AI presents it. It's specifically built to be as low lift and high impact of a process as possible when it comes to actually drafting these articles together, right? Yeah. So once we've got that, I have the ability to, here we go, save this article once I'm happy with it. And then it goes into our broader knowledge base. And now I want to show you guys kind of the view that you're going to see when you come in here. Maybe you're mid-session, maybe you were in that session earlier and you're trying to resolve these things for the first time. Well, I'm going to come over here on the left, click on knowledge base, and then I'm going to start searching away, right? And something that I think was really, really important that I want to show you guys is speed and the quality of indexing that you're able to achieve with an AI-enabled solution, right? Not going to get too geeky, but when it comes to LLMs and how language models work, it's essentially just a gigantic, super efficient index, right? I'm not going to be too backwards looking, but if you've ever used a locally hosted solution that takes 5 minutes to complete your query and actually pull down the data you're looking for, those days are over with this. I can pop in here, type in cache, and then all of my articles. And we have well over 150 articles in here are instantly indexed, and I'm given information on which articles have got what I'm looking for. I can even get more specific if it is a PDF or something. If it's not one of our knowledge base articles, these can still be indexed, properly ingested, and included in this information. So we can also take in your existing data here. So if you've got files or you've already put work into these things, you want to reformat them, make them consistent, and consolidate all of that. We've made that very easy. Some other thing that things that I want to kind of show off here. I think our labeling system, the automatic labeling that is possible in this tool, is another unique kind of benefit of being able to do the type of indexing that we have here. You can see it's generated these tags, applied them to the different articles, and then listed them out so we can find things even easier that way. We've got the easiest to access, fastest KB situation that you're going to see, I think, in any tool in the market right now. And then on top of that, we're also making it easier than ever to actually get the knowledge into here. And at that point too, we've got these articles available, the ability to sort them, add them, handle it however it is that you need. But we also can make these articles visible to end users in just one click. So when we talk about user kind of self-resolution, right? When we want people to be able to kind of self-service themselves towards success, we have a user accessible front end that they can go to here at helpdesk.me. They can submit tickets directly through here. They can request support immediately, and this will actually index and show them articles that are relevant to it. So you can provide them direct links, as well as you have the ability to turn this information, into something that they're just going to run into before they run into you if you use our intake process with this, right? So lots and lots and lots of power there with this, Okay, so backing up a little bit, let's talk about one of our other examples here, right? Same thing when it comes to resetting the internet options here, right? Maybe this is something that I've done 100 times. I come in, I generate the article, it's done like that, right? Very, very, very simple. You're talking less than 10 seconds on each of these. So, I see that we've got about 8 minutes left here. I want to go ahead and connect this also to what we were talking about with Virtual Technician last week. So, we break
Chad,
all. Go ahead, please.
one thing, just going to jump in because I did see a question come up. I think that's important for everyone.
Yeah.
I was around. Is the Resolve knowledge base shared with all Resolve customers or exclusive to their company?
Yes. Yeah, I can talk to that. It's exclusive to your company, right? To that point about what Chris said earlier, data privacy has to be a concern when it comes to anything involving like indexing or models like this. This indexing is not put in like the bulk blob that helps us to do like the LLM stuff is, as far as I understand from a technical perspective, that's how it's architected. But like this is your database, right? And it'd be nice if we could provide people, encyclopedic knowledge of every IT problem ever, and use that data in that way. But there'd be, I think, privacy concerns and stuff that it's just best practices to avoid, and has been for quite a while. So we respect that big time. Hope that's a good question there. I mean,
Perfect.
good answer. What am I doing? So yeah, any others before I move us along here, Chris?
No, one individual I'm just chatting with was having some questions about potentially integrating with other systems that I'm going to look into after the fact as well, for the APIs that are coming out for us. So yeah, keep other questions coming in.
Sweet. So some of the the other stuff that I think is worth mentioning. So for those of you that were there for virtual technician the other day, the biggest thing I want to highlight is we have everything broken down into steps, because this can also be turned into what we call a virtual technician plan. I'm going to jump back over to a live actual session again. And we'll show you guys how not only do we take the work that we do, that you do in your tool, right, and turn it into usable knowledge for you. We actually can turn it directly into automation, right? So let me pop here into a VM and kind of show you guys exactly what that looks like. And you can see our dedication to security right now, and the fact that I'm taking 10 seconds to authenticate in the middle of a webinar with 100 people in attendance. But yeah, let me get in here. We're doing it live, folks. It's really one of those things. 1 second. Is my VM up? Maybe I'll pop onto another one. There we go. Okay. Sorry for the delay. I think that's our Zscaler. It's at least what I bother the IT guys about every time something happens. But yeah, so I'm in session here, and it's very, very easy for me to pop up here, hit virtual technician, and then you can see right away, based on a bunch of context of the sessions that I'm already in, it is going to suggest different actions that I can take, right? Different KB articles, different things that I might need help with. Even I can search this this knowledge base directly through here. If I'm learning something for the first time, I can say, this is a amateur example, but for the sake of today's demo, I can ask how to install 7-zip, right? I can execute a plan, right, based directly on what this is showing me. Or if I want, I can click here, connecting back to our KB now, and click Browse Plan Library, right? So these knowledge base articles that I was showing you guys a couple of minutes ago can become your scripting library directly through here. I created a knowledge base article, some of you might remember, the other day, for configuring a particular weird piece of software that me and my buddy developed back in the day called Flatline DNS, right? That article is available in here, and I can pull that up and use it to configure that tool directly in here. So I can take these knowledge base articles, turn them into actual, functional work in just a couple of clicks, and have the AI execute the plan for us as well, right? It's pretty cool stuff. We're taking that entire flow, all these separate actions, and making it so you can just do your sessions, have your data automatically documented, reference it when you need it, and then even down the line, and we're going to continue to improve this. This is live right now. You can have this execute your task for you right now, but there's more coming with this. That's what I'll say. Don't want to hint too much. I see we got about 3 minutes left here. I kind of curious as we head for the exit. Anything else that we want to add here, Chris, or should we head towards wrapping this up?
No, I think that's great. I know we have a couple minutes left. The last thing that maybe didn't show in the knowledge base,
Yeah.
obviously the end user access and so forth, but also what I think is a cool little thing too. When you're in there, right, you're searching for things, trying to find maybe the appropriate article. There's an AI
Yes.
summary that pops up on all of the articles as well,
Yep.
so you don't necessarily have to click into something to see what it is, right? So if there's maybe a few different articles on something, which again, some hygiene might be better for that, but you can kind of see the quick summary that pops up, which I really think does help if maybe you get 4 or 5 answers to something when you do a search, you can kind of quickly identify which is the right one as well.
Exactly. Exactly. Really helps with that expediency. That's a great call out, Chris.
Yep. And housekeeping stuff too, from a standpoint, if you have current knowledge and articles that live in multiple places, stuff, there is the ability to easily import all of that right into Resolve as well, and then that AI will work behind the scenes to kind of start helping to index, tag things, and so forth for you as well. So that's great, right? So you don't have to kind of start from scratch if you decide to kind of move over and start using our platform. So. Um, what I will do is I will grab back screen share because I think this is great. If there's other questions on it, please, let chime in and let Chad know. Let me just share my screen as well. Let's see what we got here. All right. So one last thing that I'd love to understand. We have a kind of another question. This is always good insight for us. From a poll, which benefits of this kind of AI-powered knowledge base is most compelling to you, right? So Chad went over a lot of potential benefits, whether it's this solution. There's other tools out there as well. Maybe they do it differently. But I think the common idea of the benefits, I would love to know as a marketer, what is most valuable to you. I think our product organization would love to know as well, right? So we can continue to kind of double down and focus there. If you think there's something else valuable that's not listed here, drop it in kind of that chat there, question area, and I can see that as well. Um, so, and while these are
This,
coming through, let's see if there's some other questions that are coming in here.
yep. This is very interesting for me.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to bias the data this time. I'm not going to say.
All right, we'll give you 5 more seconds. Closing bell. Ding, ding, ding. All right, I think answers are starting to slow. Oh, no, we're still getting a few more people chiming in. All right. Oh, and just flipped. We got a new horse in the lead here at the end. All right, I think we can
That's
close it out.
crazy.
Push it back. So faster support resolution time, and a last answer got in there for reduced repetitive work to get kind of the tie there at the end. Uh, so that's great to kind of see these kind of ticking above. The onboarding training is interesting, right? I do like how maybe you're just not bringing in more people right now. I know it's kind of a tough space to bring on new hires at this point. So that could be part of the situation there. So you're trying to get more out of your current team. So that's kind of lower value. So this is great for me to see. Not terribly surprising, to be honest with you, but like it all around. All right. So with that, I will pull up oh, sorry, we have one last one. I'll go to questions while we're doing this. We're not going to push these out. If anyone would like more of a personalized demo conversation with a member of our team, let us know. This is more to learn more, double click in whether it's specific to this, other AI stuff, other general resolve stuff. Maybe who knows, you'll get a nice one-on-one with Chad or one of our other fantastic solution consultants can come on and kind of discuss, how can Resolve can work best for you. So let us know here. I promise you no kind of hard sell or anything coming out after that. So we'll leave this open for a second, another couple seconds while I'm looking through. The one question did come in slightly unrelated to this, but Chad, you are an expert. I don't know if you see this one from our friend Sasha here. Are there any batch actions for updating the device and changing NTP servers for time drifts? This is way past me, so I'm gonna let
I
you
can do
chime
this.
in on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. I mean, that would be something that I would accomplish probably through conventional scripting. That is something that we can help build. When I say conventional scripting, I don't mean no AI. I just mean, I would probably look to accomplish something like that with like PowerShell run on the back end against like a group of machines. Something that we really haven't had time to talk about is remote execution, which is like our more conventional scripting engine. It has an AI model that will help draft a PowerShell for whatever it is that you need. And you could run that against 1,000 machines in 10 minutes with this tool. If you're going to run it against 1,000 machines, I would still say test the script first, but that's the type of thing that, yeah, we could accomplish with this tool for sure.
Yeah, Yeah, I think, and to your point, right, another AI feature we do have a scripting capability, but also not just for helping you craft it, but also checking scripts. So if you want to validate, you draft something up, how can it be improved and looked at as well from a scripting standpoint. So that's also built in. Keep getting some of these questions coming in. Let's see. Is there a way to populate the KB with existing solutions? So yeah, as mentioned, so if you have stuff that's in there, you can easily import. I don't know if is there a specific format, Chad, that to be
I don't
imported
believe
with?
so.
Okay.
I think in general, like you want it to be indexable, right? So stuff that's got readable text, like a PDF or text files. If you've got them, that's great. And the system's pretty good at just at least getting a, whether or not we'll reformat it for you, that's context dependent. But yeah, any
Oh, I
any
see.
file
Okay,
format.
so it looked like he followed up with a second one. So something that's already published. So if you mean kind of like crawling another site or something for that, I don't think we can do that at this time, if that's kind of what you
Yeah,
mean.
but
Yeah.
I will say to that extent, we haven't talked about Go Pilot, which is like there is a button at the top that will let you speak to an AI model that is trained specifically on IT knowledge bases. You know, you can fit a lot of data in an LLM now. Like what you're looking for is probably in there. And that is just one click away.
Great. Um, One question that's interesting, the how this that came in, how do you avoid, I think this is the general top one, right? How do we avoid kind of a garbage in, garbage out when feeding data into a knowledge base, whether it's AI or otherwise? Thoughts on that, Chad?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do, frankly, with formatting, right? And I think in my opinion, a successfully resolved ticket is a pretty hard thing to have be garbage data, right? Like most of the time, this is the garbagification of something is happening when we fail to document it appropriately, right? Or like when we complete a process and it's like I'm so busy, I don't have time to write down the 20 different steps that I had to take to make this happen, right? If the work was done correctly, the bot is going to be able to recognize what was necessary in that process, right? Turn it into something clearly formatted and easy to sort of recognize, um, you know, and even easy to edit or improve further from there. That's sort of my answer to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. And I think, the benefit of it kind of injecting through these workflows is it doesn't necessarily, right? A lot of what you're generating is already from things that solved problems before, so it's hopefully less garbage in. I think, to your point too, a lot of the auto categorization, labeling, stuff like that does help as well. And also at the same point, right? If you're because this is getting served up in so many different platforms and ways while you're solving tickets, if you're searching for a support session, whatever, you have to train a little bit of your team. Like if you see something that's wrong, make sure you're flagging that automatically, right? And maybe getting that out of there, updating it and so forth, right? Your kind of typical, KCS approaches and things like that for improved knowledge. So, last question that came in is how do they access the AI features that we showed here? So I think depending on the tier solution you have, majority of you will have access to this already. If you don't see this, feel free to reach out to us. We could potentially give you a trial of some of the functionality, or you can reach out to your account manager, chime in here in the chat. We could have someone lead out if you said, hey, I don't see this in my current platform. We could do some investigation and see why not. But RAA functionality is available, across the board to the majority of the tiers that customers have. So, that came in. How much would it cost to add that? I get less asking. So that's kind of a loaded question. I don't know what tier you're potentially on. So our knowledge base is included in, I think, our top tier currently, our premium tier that's in there. So depending if you have that or not. If not, then there's potentially incremental cost onto it. So unfortunately, can't answer specifically, but it is included for that kind of top tier without any additional cost on it. So. All right, with that, again, we have our final session coming up in 2 weeks, as I mentioned, that's on the kind of reporting side of it. We'll be back to show you some great stuff there. Watch the recording of it. We'll have a recap email coming with this, and we'll make sure maybe Danny that recordings from that first session as well is included in that, so everyone has it available. Share it around. Let us know if you have any other questions, and hopefully we get to see you on the next one. Chad, thanks again for joining and giving another one of your fantastic demos, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you everybody for witnessing the demo. Thank you, Chris, for teeing it up. Thanks all around.
Awesome.
What a pleasure.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, you enjoy the rest of your week, everyone, and see you in a couple weeks. Cheers.